And it's obvious that I don't mean that. Obviously, 9/11 is devastating. If I am criticizing Al-Qaeda for the senseless terror that they've caused, which was the immediate follow-up to that.
Your statement is equivalent to that of someone in ISIS would say.
You made...
All right, folks, today we're diving into a wild clip where Hasan Piker, the Twitch streamer famous for foot and mouth syndrome, tries to explain away his infamous America deserved 9/11 comments. He even takes some cheap shots at Dan Crenshaw, a man who literally gave his eye for this country. But guess what? Gianno Caldwell doesn't let him squirm away this time. Hasan gets called out big time. So let's see just how badly he fumbles this one, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this. So let's get into it.
Some comments that got a lot of pickup, talking about 9/11, saying that Americans deserved 9/11. This was something you said on a Twitch stream that was very long, had a lot of other stuff in it. You deleted it and said that that was probably not the best way of saying that. You also made a comment about Dan Crenshaw, the Republican congressman who had an eye injury in war, and said that that was not well delivered, sort of a poor attempt at humor. Anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, certainly. Well, first of all, I said America, not Americans, and I still stand, I don't believe that any civilian deserves to die. Obviously, I'm anti-war. That was precisely what we were talking about.
All right, when you say you're anti-war, but then you rationalize the death of thousands of civilians on 9/11 by blaming America's foreign policy, that's like saying I'm against arson, but the House had it coming. If you're truly anti-war, how about aiming your criticism at the terrorists who flew planes into buildings instead of the country they targeted? The mental gymnastics with this idea are Olympic level, and guess what? You are not getting the gold medal for this one. I mean, you guys can let me know if you agree down in the comments.
On my Twitch stream at the time, it was a 6-hour broadcast, and that was a 10-second clip. And unfortunately, if they had shown the preceding 10 seconds right after that, the context would be rather clear. It was that I was criticizing American foreign policy and the kind of jingoistic attitude that Dan Crenshaw was repeating that justifies endless war, that has led to nearly 7,000 brave young men and women to be sent overseas and only return in caskets. I think that's abhorrent. I think that's disgusting. I don't think that I mean, my style is not very civil. I think civility is unimportant.
All right, this is a bit rich. Saying civility is unimportant is sort of translating into basically saying, I have no idea how to make a point without insulting people. Civility isn't about playing nice. It's about having the backbone to make a strong argument without devolving into cheap shots and bad jokes. You don't want civility because it forces you to actually debate, which is something that he obviously wants to avoid.
And I think doing what's morally right is what's important, and speaking truth to power is what's important.
So truth to power is saying that America deserved 9/11. We're Americans. We live in America. This impacted many families, people that I know personally. And for you to say something like that, and I recognize the fact that your uncle gave you an opportunity. You didn't have a lot of life experience or policy experience. So you came on as a junior analyst and you began to pontificate on things that you may not know much about, but it was so disheartening to see that. And your follow-up the next day was just really ridiculous. You should just say, I apologize for it and leave it there. There's a lot of people hurting from that.
What do you think is worst? The actual substance of what I was trying to say, which is that America's foreign policy is it led to awful consequences, 9/11 being one of them, and this isn't like a matter up for debate or discussion.
You can say that, and that's fine.
Hold on.
You can say that, that's fine.
Is that worse, or continuously arming Saudi Arabia and voting to continuously arm and fund Saudi Arabia, and some of those weapons do end up in the hands of Al-Qaeda. Which one's worse, you think? My statement that got taken out of context and it's obvious that I don't mean that. Obviously, 9/11 is devastating. If I am criticizing Al-Qaeda for the senseless terror that they've caused, which was the immediate follow-up to that.
Your statement is equivalent to that of someone in ISIS would say. A terrorist sympathizer. No BS. Legitimately speaking, like when we have these discussions. No, I'm so serious. I'm having a real conversation.
Okay, do you think a terrorist sympathizer would be upset?
Politics. This is beyond politics.
You think a terrorist sympathizer would
Your
be
words
upset that we're
matter.
funding
Your
the terrorists?
words matter.
Gianno hits the nail pretty hard on the head here. Hasan's words do matter, and instead of owning up to the damage he caused, he's sitting here trying to double down. Imagine if someone crashed your car and then said, well, it's your fault for parking it there. That's exactly what he's doing. And Gianno's right, just say I messed up and simply move on. But no, he'd rather make it about some imaginary right-wing outrage cycle instead of actually admitting the way that he put it was not the best way to go about it.
You heard a lot of people with those statements, and now you're trying to explain it away and say, well, the substance of what I said. No, apologize for it, full stop. I apologize. What I said was wrong, and leave it there. Why would you ever? Why would you ever? We're Americans.
Because I'm not going to back down from the manipulated, calculated moral outrage cycle that was created exclusively by the right wing, and I'm not going to back down from it.
Your uncle himself said that he found your comments deplorable.
I don't care. We have differences in opinion.
That's just like saying, like, oh, people sell, they have illegal guns in Chicago, and the folks in Chicago, the black people, deserve to die. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, all right.
We're Americans. We should never be in this type of position. This is a serious statement. This is beyond politics. I don't care about your politics or mine. We're Americans. People came together during 9/11. A lot of people.
Yeah, you know
we
what
were one.
You know what
it didn't matter about color.
You know
we
what
were
we
one.
Did? I know. You know what we did in the aftermath of that? You know what we did? We justified endless war by using and politicizing 9/11 as a tragedy.
All right, this one gets me. Yes, we should absolutely question endless war, but don't you dare blame the victims of 9/11 to make your point. He's trying to act like he's some enlightened anti-war hero, but in reality, he's just throwing red meat to his audience while ignoring basic decency. Here's an idea. Criticize the politicians who voted for the war, not the people who died because of terrorism. There's a way to do this without sounding like an apologist for Al-Qaeda, and this is definitely not the way.
That is something that I've written about extensively. It's absolutely disgusting, and it's not going to.
What did we do?
Back down
this is a very
from
serious
statement.
comment. What did we do to deserve 2 planes going into the Twin Towers? What did we do to have our economy trampled over? What did we do?
Great.
What did we do?
Great question. We armed and offered structural and material support to the same fighters that ended up branching off.
Across this world,
are you going to let me?
Places.
Oh, so then it's okay.
We've done that.
Oh, so then it's okay.
We've done that.
Oh, it's fine when we arm the Contras. It's fine when the Mozote massacre happens in Latin America.
America never deserted it. And you should apologize.
Do you think? All right, guys. Do you think 500,000 Iraqi civilians deserve to die? No, it's the same concept.
I'm an American and I'm proud of it.
Okay, guys, let's stop. All right.
All right,
everybody made their point. Okay, we're gonna move on to something else, which I'm sure you guys will agree with as well. Mayor Pete, who we talked to in the last segment, talked about where he fits in the Democratic field. Let's hear from him.
I do have a different approach from those who are to my left, who I think run the risk of further polarizing this country, and those who seem to believe that we can win over Republicans by sounding like Republicans.
So that was Mayor Pete essentially saying that going too far to the left might polarize, alienate the country. Hasan, where do you think the party should go in terms of winning, and where do you think is the right way to go?
I think that there is no such thing, especially at this current Overton window that we're experiencing. American politics has gone far to the right, not in social issues, but definitely on economic issues. And
all right, he says this as if it's a gospel of truth, but let's think about it. We're living in a country where woke policies dominate education, entertainment, and even corporate boardrooms. Far to the right, he must think Bernie Sanders is a centrist. And this is what happens when you live in an echo chamber. You lose touch with reality.
These ideas are not deregulating entire industries.
Oh, but what about the 5-6 million jobs that have been created due to this deregulation? What about the 7 million job openings are now available due to this deregulation? How's that a bad thing?
Obviously, if the labor market being as tight as it is currently, if that was a good thing.
What do you mean tight? What do you mean?
The fact that we are nearing full employment should imply that wages are supposed to go up, but wages have gone up very, very slowly, and wages have remained stagnant for the past 40 years, and that is a direct consequence of us failing, our government failing the American labor
seen
force.
tax reform.
So part of the question right now is, do we do socialism or do we do capitalism, which is being debated?
We're not gonna do socialism. I don't know what this idea is. Like, everyone keeps talking about this. Like, we're not creating like a vanguard party that is going to violently overthrow the American government and seize the means of production. That's preposterous. It's not going to happen, and there's like 11 people in America that actually want to do that. The reality is, what we need to do in the short term are modest but immediate social democratic reforms that have absolutely worked all around the world, and that's precisely what Bernie Sanders is advocating for, and that's precisely what Elizabeth Warren is advocating for. And despite the numerous attempts to muddy that message and to fight back against that, even in some circumstances by the Democratic Party itself. These are very popular populist ideas, and they go across party lines as well. And the reason why they go across party lines is because it genuinely will help Americans. We deserve.
You got an individual. Senator Bernie Sanders really enlightened the world in 2016 when it came to this socialistic idea. Young people specifically.
The world,
the United
Bernie Sanders
the United States of America especially. That's why we're having these conversations. That's why you got people like Elizabeth Warren in office. But when it comes to these progressive tax policies and what she's been pushing, when he became a part of the 1%, he wouldn't even give more of his money to the government, which you can do voluntarily. So when you consider
is
the
this
fact
really
that
the best Fox News has to offer? Really? Why isn't Bernie Sanders giving more of his money? Do you think individuals magnanimously giving some of their wealth back to the government is actually going to solve it?
Sure.
What do you think structural change means? What do you think systemic change means?
Be the example.
This is the most idiotic, like, shallow commentary that works, unfortunately, because people are completely uneducated on this. Do you like the plastic straw ban?
No, I don't.
Why don't you like it?
Because the straws melt in your glass, so I don't like it.
No,
but
okay. Hold on. But there's also a real tangible effect on the environment. It's only 0.09% of the pollution, the plastic pollution in the ocean. So it's actually a silly policy. I agree. The reason why I think that that's a silly policy is because it helps us feel like we're actually doing something positive to save the environment when when the top 100 companies on this planet are responsible for 71% of the emissions. Okay?
Ah yes, the big bad corporations. He acts like banning plastic straws is pointless because these companies exist. Let me guess. Your solution is government overreach and regulation that kills small businesses while corporations find loopholes. If you're serious about climate change, start with innovation and incentives, not lectures on straws while sipping a latte from a single-use cup.
Like, we need structural changes. You substituting your plastic straw for a paper straw is not going to mitigate the disasters, the ecological disasters that are coming.
All right, that's it for this clip, folks. Hasan Piker spends all this time trying to dodge accountability and ends up exposing just how shallow his arguments are. He tried to justify outrageous comments to blaming everything on deregulation and corporations. From what I've seen, it seems like nothing but deflection and virtue signaling. What do you guys think? Should he take full responsibility, or did he make some valid points? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next one.